What's going on, Team JD Fitness? Welcome to another episode of Ask JD. This is episode number 2. Okay guys, so I've got your questions here. Thank you so much for those of you that have joined and asked some questions. I've got some really good questions to cover today. Okay, and we're gonna go straight into it, guys. We're gonna start actually, this is probably the best question I've had on the show, you know, this is a show now. This is probably the best question I've had on these series, and it's applicable to absolutely everyone, okay? And the question is, why is it worth to start with a PT or a coach in lockdown with no previous experience and with no equipment? Okay, this is a wicked question. Guys, during this time of being in lockdown, a lot of people feel lost. A lot of people feel unsure of what to do. There's a lot of uncertainty, okay? And a lot of people are lacking a routine, are lacking accountability. And because gyms are not open and that community base that they're in, a lot of people feel lost. So what a lot of people tend to do is give up on their fitness and health goals, okay? So why is it worth having a coach during lockdown? Well, it's simple. A good coach will keep you accountable. A good coach will guide you in the right direction. A good coach will help you set up a routine that's adherable to you in the lockdown times, because everybody, you know, a lot of people in different positions. Some people in furlough, some people are still working from home, some people are still working, okay? So a good coach will help you with that accountability aspect, setting up a routine. A good coach will also help you, how can you exercise at home? What can you be doing, okay? As well as what equipment you can get. And you may be thinking, I don't have space for equipment. And kind of one of my go-tos for everybody is everybody has space for a set of bands. Bands are inexpensive, okay? You can get bands as cheap as £10 on Amazon, and obviously you can go for the slightly more premium bands, which you can do different things with, for about £36. And when you think about it, okay, if you're gonna spend a lot of time, say, eating takeouts or buying a lot of junk food, over time that adds up. So, you know, when people come to saying that they can't afford equipment or don't have space, if you've got bands, you've got sofas, chairs, you can pretty much do anything, not anything, but you guys get the idea, you can do quite a lot. But, so that's the point of having a coach, okay? I feel like having a coach is actually more important now than before. And also another reason I want to add on to that is, where so many people are at home, okay, a lot of people are turning for food for kind of comfort eating, okay? So what that means is a lot of people also inactive. A lot of people are not moving around, you know, they're not commuting to work, they're not going out to do the daily exercise. So a lot of people are gonna end up overeating, and a lot of people will actually end up gaining weight, okay? And the downside with this is we've seen already, okay, with this virus, people that are medically obese or overweight, they're a higher chance of kind of getting the worst part of this virus, okay? So this is one of the reasons, many reasons why it's important to keep fit and healthy, okay? Not just because of the pandemic and the virus that's going around, but just for your general health and well-being. So hopefully that answers that question, guys, as to why it's so important to have a coach during this lockdown. If you guys have any more questions on that, please do let me know. Next question. This is another really good question we have here. What do you find is the most common misconception or myth that clients get caught up in? And this applies to absolutely everybody, not just clients, okay? But number one is that they need to intermittent fasting. There's this thing that if you fast, that you're gonna lose weight. And I'm gonna give you guys 2 other examples, okay? And because they all kind of come together. So fasting is one, keto is the other one, and supplementation is number 3. They're kind of my top 3s that I find are the biggest misconceptions or myths. So let's kind of go back to the first one with the fasting. A lot of people feel that because when you fast, you're going to lose weight, because a lot of people have lost weight when they fast. Well, the reason a lot of people lose weight is not because of the fasting itself. A lot of reason is because a lot of people that go into a form of intermittent fasting, any form of fasting really, if you're restricting the times of the day that you're eating, a lot of people, without realizing, they're putting themselves into a caloric deficit, okay? Soon as you put yourself into caloric deficit, of course you're going to lose weight. But if you are in the fast, okay, and you are still overeating, if you're in a surplus of calories, you will continue to gain weight. And if you're in a maintenance, obviously, your weight will maintain, guys, okay? So if you're someone that thinks, I saw results during intermittent fasting, I don't know what you want about, you know, which is a common thing that I get. You don't know what you're talking about because, you know, fasting, I saw results. Really ask yourselves, look at your diet pre-fasting and look at your diet fasting. Try and kind of track your calories, and you'll see that you're in a caloric deficit, okay? So that's number one. With the keto diet, okay, the same applies for keto diet. A lot of people still have this obsession over keto diet, that is the king of diets. Guys, I've nothing against keto diet, rather than it's just boring and for the majority of people not adherable. Most people do a keto diet and after a few weeks they're like, oh, I can't do it because I missed having this or missed having that, and then they go on to this whole binge eating scenario and they're like, well, it worked, well, I did it. Well, the reality is it didn't work, and the same applies to keto as it did to fasting. If you're in a caloric deficit, you will lose weight regardless whether you're doing a keto or not. If you're in a surplus, you gain weight. If you're in a maintenance, you're going to maintain. So, you know, a lot of people will lose weight when they're in a keto diet because, again, you're restricting the kind of foods you can have. So majority of times, a lot of people actually end up being in a deficit when they're doing a ketogenic diet, okay? So that's number two. And number three is the supplements. The one common thing I get with the supplements is, you know what, I've run out of protein, so because I've run out of protein, you know, I've not really been seeing my results, etc. There's always something about not having that protein powder. Guys, protein powders are not magical, and if you go back to episode 1 where the last question was protein powders or protein bars useful, like necessary in the diet, are they essential? And the answer is they're not essential, but they're definitely useful to help people achieve their protein goal. Protein is one of the hardest things for people to hit, especially if your protein goal's fairly high. It varies from individual to individual, okay? I would say, like, for most people, you should aim from anything from 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight for protein, okay? So say if you weigh 200 pounds, then, you know, if you're doing it 1 gram per pound, you're gonna have 200 grams of protein, okay? And if you weigh 0.8, it's just a bit less. Obviously, when I say 200 pounds, obviously we are talking about lean weight. So, you know, if you're someone that, you know, you're not extremely lean and you're weighing in 200 pounds, then maybe don't worry about hitting 200 grams of protein. But you guys kind of get the idea. My point with that whole supplement thing is, okay, supplements aren't essential. They're definitely useful. They definitely have a place in one's diet to supplement a person's diet. So when people say, oh, I've run out of protein, I'm not seeing results, it's kind of a placebo effect, okay? The most important part is that you're getting your exercise in, you're getting plenty of fruits and veggies, you're getting enough fluid in, so you're keeping hydrated, okay? And you've got a diet which is adherable. And when I say healthy, I'm not saying, I'm saying healthy and kind of all round, like balance, basically. So you do have that 80-20 balance. So 80% of it is all your whole, like, greens and fruits, etc. And then the other 20%, just make room within your diet for 20% to allow yourself to enjoy food. So it can be a chocolate bar here and there if it fits within your day, a glass of wine here. When you are socializing, obviously, you know, it's a bit different now, but you guys get what I'm trying to get at. So when people say supplements, I generally, it's all placebo in your heads. Okay, guys, so that's question number 2. Question number 3. Okay, what are the top most necessary supplements for someone that is entering a prep phase? So this is very specific, very focused to a competitive athlete, but I'm gonna answer this question in a way that it kind of, anyone can kind of relate to it in a sense. So for someone that's prepping for their show, my go-to supplementations, okay, is definitely, again, guys, before I go into this, please remember that diet is key. If your diet is not in the right place, then obviously, then don't worry about supplements. That's like on the top of the food pyramid here that we have, you know, calories, adherence, your calories, macros, micros, you know, supplements and meal timing are up there at the top. So anyway, going to the supplements I would usually have during a and we're talking about bodybuilding prep here, guys. I would have a decent whey protein, okay? The closer I get to show, I would usually change my whey concentrate for a whey isolate, okay? For those of you like that are non-competitive, which is a majority of you watching this, okay, I wouldn't worry about purchasing a whey isolate, okay? I'm not gonna get into the nitty-gritties of it. It's a more expensive version of whey. It makes, in my opinion, it makes sense to have as a competitive athlete in bodybuilding, especially when you get very lean, opting for a whey isolate. Okay, this is a video for another day. But for most of you that have a whey protein powder, just a basic whey protein concentrate is fine. But if you are competing, I would personally, again, just an opinion, go for a whey isolate, okay? This is number 1. Number two, I'll definitely have some creatine in there. Okay, creatine is very useful. Anyone can take creatine. Again, this is a video for another day. Just supplements specifically for kind of general population, for people that work out. But creatine is fine. It's not going to make you hold water. This applies to both competitive athletes and for those of you that are non-competitive, just want to get in shape. Okay, creatine is absolutely fine. It's one of the most researched and one of the most safest supplements to take. But for competitive purposes, definitely take creatine. I feel is very useful supplement to have. I would have a very good pre-workout. Okay, you can just have coffee, caffeine. It makes no difference really. We can, again, one could have various opinions on this, but I would have a decent pre-workout, basically stimulant based, because as you get closer to show or your photo shoot, etc., it does obviously get a lot harder. Your energy levels do go down the toilet. So it's definitely worth having a pre-workout for when you go to work out, okay? And another supplement I'd add in there is a form of essential amino acids or BCAAs, okay, to drink during workout. Again, majority of people watching this that do not compete, this is one that a lot of people do ask this, is BCAAs or EAs essential? For majority of people, no, it isn't. As long as you're having enough protein within your diet, absolutely fine. Again, this is more an opinion. There is various kind of data to discuss whether EAAs, amino acids, are necessity for prepping. I'm not going to go into that. Literally, my opinion, I feel that they are. So this is very much an opinion based. I'd have, yeah, a form of essential amino acids to drink during workout, and I would usually add that like as I get closer to show, the leaner I get. Maybe not so much at the beginning of prep, okay, but definitely as I get much leaner, I would recommend that you add in EAAs. And that's really it. Obviously, then it is worth having things like a good multivitamin and stuff like that. But those are it. So a whey protein, a creatine, a good pre-workout, and yeah, definitely get some EAAs in there. All right, guys. So next question. I hope that makes sense. Next question: training for a marathon and for hypertrophy. They're both opposite kind of to each other. How can you do this? Well, if you're prepping for a marathon and also trying to build muscle, it can still achievable, okay? It can be attained. However, you kind of need to prioritize one over the other. So is your main goal to build muscle? Because you can still focus on building muscle and run a marathon. Or is your goal to get the best time in a marathon, where then your hypertrophy goals or training will kind of have to take a hit because your most focus is on endurance, okay? So this is what I would say, kind of figure out like what is your main goal? Is it to build muscle, or is it to kind of get a better timing in the marathon? And I'd say then obviously situate your training around that and what you can train now. Obviously, what is your lifestyle like at the moment? How many times a week can you train? What is your diet like, etc.? So are you having enough protein? So again, this is where it's really key to make sure you're having enough protein in your diet. But yeah, it's a bit of a sticky one, this one, training for a marathon and building muscle. You can do it, but like I said, I'll pick one like a priority, one over the other, for the time being while you're prepping for a marathon. And then obviously once the marathon's finished, then you can put more of your focus on your hypertrophy goals. But if you're not so bothered for the marathon, like your times, and you're just doing it just for fun, then obviously focus on your hypertrophy goals and make sure you're adding in enough endurance training as well around that to prepare you for the marathon. So that is that answer for that. And one last question I had, which was a really, really funny question, is basically, what is the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to you at work? So I have 3 stories for you guys of the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me at work. Number one, we're gonna go back to way before I started coaching. It was my first job when I was at uni, so 2011. I was working at KFC, okay, and I used to work up front. And I already knew I wanted to compete, okay, so I was already full off season, and you know, I struggled to fit into trousers at the time, okay, like back then and I'm talking like kind of, you know, like smart trousers, not jeans, like smart trousers, like unless you're gonna get them tailored. If you just go into Tesco's or Asda just for cheap trousers, it was hard, okay. And I remember one time I went to work at the drive-through, and the customer was waiting for a drink, and I walked over to where we had like one of the fridges, and as I bent over to pick up a drink, my trousers ripped, and it was really loud as they ripped, and the people in the drive-through could see, everybody that was working in the kitchen could see, and it was super embarrassing, super hilarious, and I had this massive my trousers, I had no trousers. I had to borrow one of the aprons from KFC. Luckily I lived close to work, and I had to kind of put this apron around me at the time and walk home like that because I didn't have any spare clothes. Then number 2 was, I remember one time, this is really bad. I did not have the happiest of stomachs, and I remember I was coaching a client at the studios, maybe like a couple years back now, and I was trying to demonstrate something to my client as I'm moving really quick, trying to demonstrate something. I moved a little bit too quick and I just let one rip so loud, and like I just continued coaching as if nothing happened, and I feel like my client is looking at me like, I understand what you're coaching me, but don't act like that didn't just happen when I know it just happened because I just heard it happen type thing. So that's one. That's number 2. And number 3, this is also very embarrassing, but it's a very painful one. I remember one time, I don't know what the hell was wrong with me. Again, coaching a client. It was on a Saturday morning a couple of years ago also. And I had like my back, my lower back, some like kind of my lower thoracic, upper lumbar, something like my very lower lap basically. And I don't know what was happening that day. And I had just a bit of a weird pain. Anyway, I'm just there like guiding my client. I'm not lifting any weights. I was coaching him for a deadlift and I'm just standing there. And as I'm feeling quite a lot of pain. So, you know, in the most professional of manners, I'm just trying to lean against the rack as I'm looking at them. And as I just do this little movement like this to lean against the rack to watch them deadlift, to make sure, you know, I'm seeing what they're doing, my back just pulled. And it's just like the worst shock pain in the world. And what was so embarrassing about it is that I literally, before my client lifted the weight, I was just like, what? Like this, and I couldn't speak. And I was literally speaking like this because it was that much pain. And this was like 10 minutes into the session and we had to call it a day there. I felt really bad. Obviously, I'm still coaching that client now. And you know, he was concerned for me at the time, but man, that was embarrassing. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for those that have joined, asked your questions. I hope you have really enjoyed this episode of Ask JD. Okay, guys, share it, subscribe, tag some friends wherever it is you see this. Share the link all over your social medias, and hopefully it's of help for others that watch it. Guys, as always, keep it real, keep it positive. Until next time. Peace.